Yeah, I can see why. It is really strenuous too, because especially with drummers too, when you have to build up the kit, get it all set up, play in front of people for maybe an hour or two, depending on like how the set goes and everything, and then take it all down. And then either go to your next location or go home and then just chill right there before you have to wake up either to do it over again or go into, let's say, your second job, for instance, especially with like drum teaching or podcasting, YouTubing, and that sort of thing. So I could say why it gets a lot out of the mind afterwards, especially as you get older too. So, but,
absolutely. So I mean, a typical weekend for me for almost 20 years was Friday night. Always have a gig. Well, teach Friday day, gig on Friday night. So your whole Friday's gone, just gone. You never have a Friday. And then Saturday morning, I would start teaching at like 9 a.m., 9:30. This is after getting home at 2. And then straight from teaching, I would be off to a private gig, private function. That might be a lunchtime setup. And I would not be home till, again, 2 or 3 a.m. So, I mean, I was so used to not ever socializing, basically not socializing at night at all, or seeing my family. I wanted, you might want to stay home and watch Netflix, catch a movie or something. And I just never did it. I was always out. And I mean, woe is me, right? It sounds like I'm complaining about that, but it's tough. And then, or before you know it, it's Monday and you start the whole thing again.
I'd say it's always tough and woe is me, but for some reason you like it. So
yeah, I mean, it was great. And then, but at some point, especially if you're doing covers, especially if you're playing the same songs every night, or a lot of the same songs every night in the same band, it can get a little bit Groundhog Day. And the money's great, not complaining about that, and the people were great, and crowds were really receptive, and it was really fun. But there is a point where it's work. And you start to think of that trade-off and how much you're missing at home and kids growing up, and yeah, it's just one of those things.
I see. And it's good to see you made it through and also got to spend time with your family too. And I guess also catch up on maybe some Netflix shows. Maybe the wife was bugging you about not binge watching, to be honest. So
yeah.
I don't know how much
Absolutely.
New Zealand does in terms of crime fighting, but I know the UK is really huge in terms of like all those crime shows, like detectives and that sort of thing. It all takes place in like different parts of the UK. So I'm thinking like, I don't know if we want to move to the UK, to be honest. There's too much crime going on. So I don't know. Well, that's pretty sweet. So good to have you along on the ride here, Andy. So who would you consider has been your biggest influence in terms of drumming?
I think probably Jeff Porcaro is my favorite drummer of all time. Jeff Porcaro from Toto. A couple of other personal faves: Tony Thompson from Chic, Steve Jordan, and Matt Chamberlain. I'd say those are the four guys for me. They're all probably known as ensemble players as opposed to soloists, which I guess says a lot. And there's local guys too.
I mean, instructors too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many good local players that, I mean, it's really impactful, as you would know when seeing someone on a video is one thing, but being 5 meters away from them at a gig, whole different ballpark. When you actually feel that power and you actually hear acoustically what the kit sounds like, you're not even hearing the mics at that range, you're actually hearing the kit. So I've always found that incredibly powerful with the local dudes. But yeah,
that's pretty sweet. Yeah, I know Jeff Porcaro's always been on the list a good number of times, especially for people who took influences maybe from the jazz, the blues, and like those sort of genres too. But I guess for your drum covers, do you mostly do some classic rock every now and again, or do you mostly stick with blues, jazz, and those sorts of genres?
Man, I've done hundreds of them. So I guess most of them. I mean, for example, recently the Police. I'm a big Stuart Copeland fan. But they're random covers, man. I did a Steve Gadd one, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover recently. And then I did Whiplash from the movie. All over the map. I sort of decide what I'm going to do just on a whim, really, or what a student might request. So the only reason I did that Whiplash drum cover was because a student asked to learn it. And I thought, man, that's a big call. If you want to learn a drum part from Whiplash, there's some pretty serious drumming. So I had to basically learn it in order to teach it. And
was that the song Caravan?
Yeah.
Or Caravan, how you pronounce it?
No, it's actually called Whiplash.
Oh, okay.
It's a song called Whiplash. So Caravan is the big extended sort of open solo. And Whiplash is about a 2-minute five, is it five? I think it's 5/4 from memory, sort of funk jazz tune. It's really cool. Just check it out. So yeah, no, my covers are just all over the map, man.
I would say every time I hear Whiplash, though, I think of the Metallica song, because they actually did a song called Whiplash from their Kill 'Em All album. So
right,
obviously a lot faster and everything too, but you can imagine still a tricky song nonetheless. It was when Lars was in his prime. So
yep.
I guess speaking of your drum covers, I guess walk us through the process of like how do you do your drum covers? Because I saw there's like it was one camera angle and then you did sheet music on the side, so at least help students out, or at least people who are watching.
Yeah. So that music is from Drumeo. So a lot of people don't realize that Drumeo's got this whole section of, I think it's about 6,000 songs that they've got fully transcribed. You can slow them down, you can loop them, all sorts of stuff. So I feature that. Being a Drumeo partner, I like to feature that, and people can access my free trial. So it's a bit of a tie-in for Drumeo. And I might have a foot cam if there's something interesting on the feet in that particular song. And yeah, just shot basically on a GoPro or my phone. And so, yeah, that's it. A very basic, normally 3 mics. I normally do a Glyn Johns. I don't know if you're familiar with the Glyn Johns mic technique, which is basically a condenser over the floor tom, a condenser up above the snare, looking down at the snare, and a kick drum mic outside the kick for a very, very raw, organic sound.
I have to say that's actually the first time I heard about that technique, because I think most people normally, because I think sometimes with the bass drum, the way the design looks, and I was like, there's a little hole right there. That's where you would mostly put the mic, because that would be where the best sound was whenever you hit it. So that's actually the first time I heard about it too. But since I'm playing on electric too, what you hear is what you're going to get. So that's at least one of the perks that comes with having an electric set. But at least if you want to go acoustic, I think that's an interesting technique. So that's pretty cool.
Well, I like the idea of hearing what the kit sounds like in the room. Whereas, if you put a lot of close mics, so if I mic'd up all the toms and top, bottom, snare, and a separate mic on the you're starting to get into the area of really mixing the kit to how you want each thing to sound. Whereas I want the kit to sound like, that's what I sound like when I'm playing in the room. If the floor tom's not loud enough, I'm not hitting it loud enough. Or if my cymbals are too loud, I'm hitting them too loud. So, I need to internally mix myself on that mic setup, which is what I like.
I'd say we make drum go boom within good moderate ranges, so to speak. So that's pretty interesting. All right, that's pretty cool. So let's see. Talk about that. I guess we can actually jump into some fun questions. Actually, you know what? I forgot to ask. So what sort of editing software do you use in terms of putting your videos all together, including your reaction videos?
Editing software? I use one called VideoPad, which no one seems to know about. I used it was free, and then I found out you could pay for it, which had a few extra features, and it's super cheap. It's about $100 a year. Yeah, video pad.
Oh, it's a subscription base, as they would call it.
Yeah.
That's kind of a little bummer too, but I've actually rolled with Final Cut Pro, which that fortunately is just a one-time payment. But as long as you have a Mac computer, then it's totally fine. Cause
I don't have a Mac. I've got a PC.
Yeah, you roll with the Windows style, so I can see why.
Yeah.
But do you still get the copyright if you're for your reaction videos? In the case of whenever you're reacting to other drummers, do you still get the copyright strike when you do that?
It's not a strike.
Or flag, whatever it might be called.
Yeah. So if for example, I did a reaction video on, I don't know, any famous band, let's say Rush or AC/DC or anyone whose music is through a label and it's all, yeah, you will get a copyright strike.
Okay, I can say why, but
yeah, but it's unlikely that it will get blocked. So there's a difference between your hopefully I'm making sense here. I'm trying to make sense of it for myself. There's a difference between featuring copyrighted music on your channel and the video being blocked. So let's put it this way. If I feature a video on my channel and it gets 100,000 views and it's copyright music, they get the money. So in that sense, why would they want to stop that? It wouldn't make any sense.
Well, you know what, they've done that with like Beatles music or even with AC/DC music. So I mean, like, I think even if you would have all those views, they would still take it down, even though it's like,
there are exceptions.
I mean,
there are some people who are notoriously hard on copyright. Beatles being one, and as you say, AC/DC being one. My AC/DC cover got through. Don't ask me how. I did an Back in Black cover, and I got bombarded with messages. Yo, how did you? What? How did that get? How did you upload that? I don't know.
Like one of those things. What? That's what I was like, too.
Did.
Yeah. So that's what everybody's
just got
like.
through, man.
It's almost like,
I don't know.
And you're like, why are you guys talking gibberish right there or something like that? Or why are you freaking out? So I don't know. By the good grace of God, I've somehow got it through the YouTube algorithm or whatever it is that puts a strike down or blocks it entirely. So
yeah, I mean, you could think of it like, let's say you recorded an album, and how are you earning money from that album? You're earning money from it either getting streamed or played on YouTube, right? That's in 2023. That's how you get paid for music. So if you had released a song, and I can get you 1 million more views, I mean, would you block it?
Hell no. Bring it on. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
No, let's go, man. I'd be encouraging it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, in that sense, yeah, obviously you're not going to get paid for it, but it's fun, and your audience gets to see what you're doing, and you get to turn on music that you enjoy to a whole new audience. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, it's a sense of accomplishment, too, especially when you're thinking you're covering songs from people who influenced you or you consider your heroes, for instance.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the other part. That's a very good point, man. You wouldn't be covering it if you didn't like it. So you really are paying homage to one of your heroes, really.
And then what do? They end up blocking it, too. And then you're like, what the hell? That sort of thing. So,
yeah.
I mean, come on. Axel. You don't like us covering Sweet Child of Mine every now and again? So, I don't know. It's really strange, too. I even had one that was a death metal sort of group. And I would say, I don't know how big you are into like the metal or anything like that, too. But even still, like, they had blocked only a certain section of the song because the whole song was like 8 minutes. But they blocked it from the beginning to about, let's say, 3 minutes and 20 seconds. I ended up cutting that part out and uploading the rest. And for some reason, the second half was okay to just
That's
put
strange,
on.
Man.
I don't know. It's so weird. So YouTube, you're a beast of your own, that sort of thing. So, but regardless, congrats on your channel. I mean, keep on going there too. And have you heard about Ash Wells? He does what's called drum tuber. Have you heard about that?
Sorry, who was that?
Drums by Ash Wells is his YouTube name, but real name Ash Wells. But
Ash Wells. I'll just do a quick search on him. I probably will.
He does
terrible with remembering names.
Well, he does what's called Drum Tuber, and that's something that we start picking up on too. It's a little logo we put down on some of our thumbnails and also channels here and there too. And it'd be nice to have you along too. I think you'd be a big help to the community. So it'd be nice to have you along there too. So.
Ash Wells. So he's a drummer?
Oh yeah, he's been drumming for a good while. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Let's have a look here.
I was trying to remember too because I know he's still kind of in the what I would say like student phase. He's still like learning how to do his whole drumming and everything because he utilizes actual sheet music. It's not like how yours was where Drumeo gave you the sheet music that was transcribed and you just look at it that way. His is actually printed sheet music, so that's how he rolls.
Right. I've just brought him up and I've seen this dude. Yeah, I've liked some of his videos and commented on some of them.
Let's give him a shout or give him a heads up and say like, hey, I want to join the Drum Tuber community too, because we got a little Facebook group too, and he started doing that whole thing, and that's where we share some of our videos, maybe throw in some questions every now and again here and there too. So it'd be nice to have you along too. So
cool. Sounds good.
All right, now we can get to the fun questions right here. So
all right.
So the first one I always like to be careful with it too, because I don't know, some people, it revolves around like drinking alcohol, for instance. So I don't know, do you drink at all, or did you kind of been sober for a good while?
I'm not against drinking. I don't drink a lot. But if you're gonna ask me my favorite alcoholic drink,
you'd be right. Yeah.
I quite like a rum and coke, and also a gin and tonic. I'm not a big beer drinker these days.
Oh my god, you would get along with my dad, that's for sure. Because he's a big
gin. I've really gone off beer, man.
You know what? Sometimes maybe for good, but I don't know how heavy gin is in terms of like how they measure like alcohol, for instance, in terms of this and that. In terms, I'm terrible with like the analytics or anything like that. But gin, I always thought it was like a strange for a drink, but it seemed like it was an acquired taste. So I know my dad's he's drank those whenever we go out to the restaurants or any sort of the big shows or anything like that. So you get along with my dad pretty well.
I never used to like gin at all. And then one day, got it.
You'd be a taste buds
I can totally understand that. Yeah, totally understand that.
I wanted to say for the rum and coke, is it the Captain?
Rum and coke, it's I quite like a spiced rum. I can't think of the one that we've been getting here, but it was
Captain Morgan.
Yeah, any type of spiced rum, I'm good, man.
That's good. The reason why
coffee's my drink.
That'd be your non-alcoholic drink, so we at least got that much out of the way. The reason why I was kind of a little cautious in like approaching that one, because some people during the pandemic, they have been sober either for a good while. It was like something they gave up to. So I always like to say like, do you still drink, or have you been like kind of sober for a good while?
No,
too?
I get that.
So that's good to hear. And
I totally get that.
So coffee.
Yeah, I'm not a big drinker.
So coffee's favorite non-alcoholic drink. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so for the next two here, these two deal with your drum covers, for instance. So the first one, was there ever a song that was too tough for you to play? Did you either give up, or did you come back after a while to finish?
This is a good one, man. Now, this song, if anyone sees my drum covers and sees that I did songs like Whiplash and whatever, this is going to shock everybody. If I Ever Lose My Faith in You by Sting. Now, admittedly, that is Vinnie Colaiuta on drums, who's a legend. But on the surface, that sounds like an easy song. I mean, if anyone's watching this, go put on If I Ever Lose My Faith in You. And you'll go, what? That's a piece of cake, man. Just could not get a good take on it. And I know why. Because there is a certain amount of swing that he's playing with that I could not get my swing that tight and that consistent, and I just could not bury the track at all. It was a dog's breakfast, man. Another one was Rosanna. I had a really good crack at Rosanna. Could play the song from start to finish, and then I'd put on the track, and I just could not bury the track with it. And I'll give you another one, which was Grace, Jeff Buckley. Again, just awkward, sort of out of my comfort zone. Don't know what it was about that song. Just could not get it feeling confident and comfortable.
I see. I have heard people who talked about the Rosanna from Toto, and
oh my god,
I would say a couple of people would say like, yeah, I tried it, was not being able to do it, but the first one sounded like, or maybe the first and the third one that you mentioned, it seemed like it was more when the camera eyes rolling, we're seeing the red light and everything too. It's like, oh my god, there's a million eyes staring at me too. Oh, I can't do this anymore. The track,
yeah,
your head gets all jumbled too.
Well, yeah, I don't get that too bad these days. All of my covers are one take with no edits, and I feel like I don't even get to the point where I'm nervous, because I feel like if I did a take and it wasn't very good, and I tried another one and then I do another one and I made a silly mistake. That's when you can start getting mentally into trouble. But the way I approach my covers is I sort of get them prepared so I feel like they're up. I'll be okay with releasing it, and then one day I record, and basically it's just one. I'll have one go at it, maybe two.
I try to be the same way too, but if I feel good after a take, or maybe like even a little question, be like, okay, let me just, because I do 3 camera angles with mine, but I'll pull one of the cameras out because I use a GoPro as well, or maybe just from my phone because I use that on my right side, but I'll use one of that footage right there and I'll be like, okay, let's see if I screwed up anywhere, and if there was just little mistakes, I'll be like, okay, that's forgivable, but if there's like major ones, then I'll be like, no, and that's when, like you said,
I want to keep it real, I think if there's little mistakes or little weird bits here and there, I just keep it in. I mean, within reason. If it's a terrible cover, I won't put it up. But yeah, I really want to keep my channel legit in that sense of just, I'm not editing or replacing stuff. It just is what it is. Very basic mic setup and just a very honest approach, I suppose.
Fair enough, yeah. And it's best not to be a perfectionist too, otherwise you'd be there all day, to be honest. So
yeah, it doesn't exist in drums, man.
No, you'd be right, but unfortunately we mentally try to think that too. So that was actually me at some point, but I finally at least got in the hang of just like, okay, minor mistakes will be okay, but we'll see what we can do. So the biggest thing is show that you're having fun with it. So
yeah.
All right. But of all the drum covers that you have done, is the one that you love the most?
Maybe there's a little bit of recency bias here, but I was quite happy with my Roxanne Police cover. I just felt like I sort of captured it. I sort of got a little bit lucky on the camera angle. Just the whole video, it just worked. It was just good. And probably Whiplash, I think, stands out for me because I basically just put that together so quickly. I had a student request to learn it, and I was like, man, this is a beast. And then I just followed my system, just got the music off Drumeo. Spent a couple of days looking at it, played it through one or two times each day, and then I basically just hit record. So, I mean, I guess in that sense, there's a little bit of a what I know the story behind recording that was, which was very quickly and got it prepared for a student. And I mean, that student was just blown away when I mean, having been at a lesson and requesting to learn that song, between that and the next lesson of me being able to show him, hey, here's me playing it, he was just like, huh?
What the hell?
It was amazing to him. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So that was a special one.
That's pretty cool. All right. Now, last one. What is currently your favorite song, or a song that you've been listening to a good bit?
Man, I've been on a big Jim Gordon kick. I don't know if you know who Jim Gordon is. He's a famous session drummer.
Well, we know it's not the police commissioner from Batman, so we...
Nope.
Even though we could certainly use somebody like that, but go ahead, sorry.
And the song, I mean, he played on hundreds of songs, but Wichita lineman, Glenn Campbell. And it's Jim Gordon on drums, playing brushes. And it's just the most stunning musical drumming that you'll ever hear in your life. And love the song. And yeah, it's an unusually inspiring drum track for me, because it's just like, how did they think of this, you know? You have those tracks where you just think, how did anyone even think of this? There's some genius people around.
I would say maybe more so with like the Rush and Neil Peart, that sort of thing, where I think sometimes every now and again, I think more so in the metal because of how complex, specifically like how death metal is and everything too. So it'd be like, first off, how are you keeping time? First off, because I'm losing track. I'd probably be terrible blast beating or anything like that, or let alone keeping count, because it's like crazy sort of time signatures. So your guess is as good as mine whenever you're trying to like make sure you know how to count and everything. I'm better at just trying to like memorize how they do it whenever I'm trying to like do my own drum cover at some point. So but I do question it.
Yeah, I guess you're looking at it more as like a technical, phenomenal drumming kind of point of view, which is totally legit. I guess my answer was a bit more on the texture and musical choices, decision. It's interesting, totally different way of looking at the question, and it will change daily. The answer to your question will change daily depending on what I'm listening to. And I mean, one of the wonderful things about what I've done on the channel is I get to listen to stuff that I would never normally listen to, like the extreme metal. I'm not a metal guy at all. I don't even own a double kick pedal. So watching metal drummers, for example, or watching Danny Carey or whoever, it's been a real blessing, man. Like I get time to just sit and critically listen and share that experience. It's really cool.
Drum teacher blown away by Danny Carey.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
That guy.
I would say I did actually enjoy playing No Quarter from Tool, which is actually a Led Zeppelin cover, believe it or not. So
that's a great one.
Those ones aren't. I actually heard 46 and 2 a good number of times because they play those ones on the one radio station I listen to a lot. But yeah, I have to give him credit. He's a phenomenal drummer. So. Oh
my God. Absolutely.
All right. So, Andy, we're almost near the end of my podcast right here. We've actually talked over a good hour right now, but I guess, did you have any questions for me or any sort of other final words or any shout outs you want to give before we jump into the final question?
No, I think we're pretty good. I am going to have to dash, so I'm happy for you to hit me with this final question.
All right. So this one, I always like to ask it too because I like to get people's 2 cents on it. So given what COVID has done and everything too, I guess, what sort of message of hope could you give to people and musicians out there as we try to get back to whatever we want to call normal at this point? Because it seems like getting back to any sort of normal at this point is going to feel maybe weird or something like that.
Jeez. Yeah. I think anything's possible now with technology. It's very easy to look back on previous generations and previous eras of music and think, oh, I missed out on the good stuff. I missed out on the money. Fact is, it was actually very, very hard to release an album before digital, before streaming, and it was very expensive too. You had to go, you couldn't really record an album in your bedroom like you can now. You had to go and hire a studio, and if you're going to hire a studio, you need to hire an engineer, and it went on and on and on. It was very difficult and tricky. So don't ever get into that trap of thinking, woe is me, I was born at the wrong time, it was so much easier before. Nonsense. You got every opportunity now to do whatever you want to do. I think people do have to be realistic in terms of how to make money. Like if you want a big original career, for example, you might I mean, as a drum teacher, my biggest piece of advice to people doing an original thing is to play covers. You learn about songwriting, you get mileage. Typical covers gig is 3 hours. How long is a typical originals gig? You know, you might be able to do 2 or 3 covers gigs a week. That's straight away, that's 9 hours of playing. Whereas you might have an original show once a month for 40 minutes. You're just missing out on mileage, time on your acts. I don't know if that's quite answering your question, but yeah, I think you have to play to your strengths as well. So that's something that I might have probably accidentally done over COVID and lockdown, was I kind of accidentally ended up being myself. I'm a bit of a clown. I like to joke around and stuff, and that's sort of what I'm doing now on the channel, as opposed to never ever talking and just playing a song. Yeah, those are just a couple of ideas. I think you just gotta find yourself, be natural. People can see through a fraud or someone who's uncomfortable. Just gotta be yourself, man. Have fun, and there is a million ways to skin the cat when it comes to a career in music.
Absolutely. And spoken like a true prodigy. So that's pretty sweet, yeah. Well, I know the question's kind of a little bit tough too, but along the same lines, it's like always be true to yourself. And it's almost like if you got a passion for it, you got to go out and get it, because it's not just going to come right to your front door.
Nope.
Not like in an Amazon box anymore. So I don't know how big Amazon is in New Zealand. So,
Yeah.
so all right. That's a good message. So thank you so much, Andy. All right.
No worries, man.
All right. So, Andy, we reached the end of my podcast right here. Did you have any shout outs or any final words before we close?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, there's just, yeah, maybe, I mean, if people are watching this and they want to check out my channel, it's just Andrew Rooney Drums. Search that on YouTube, and I mean, you'll see me discovering lots of crazy drummers. You'll get lots of drum tips, and you know, there's all kinds of extra little bonuses. You can do an extended Drumeo free trial on me and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, in terms of shout outs to other drummers,
we got 118,000 to actually shout out to. So we don't want to install it.
Oh man, there's just so many. I don't even want to start because I'm going to miss people out. I don't even know where to start, man.
Well, thank you all.
There's just too many good drummers out there.
Let's say we thank you all from the bottom of our heart, because you know who you are, that sort of thing. But we'd probably be here all night at this point. So, all right. But I guess how else can people reach you outside of YouTube? And I guess what other social media do you use?
I mean, I'm pretty active on Instagram, although, you know, same name, Andrew Rooney Drums. But basically, it all stems from YouTube these days. And I've got a website that's just andrewrooneydrums.com. And from there, obviously, you can get to my podcast. And I mean, I've done different blogs and all kinds of things. I've completely documented my experience playing in a show band on a cruise ship. I was over in the Caribbean playing on a show band over there. And there's all kinds of probably weird and wonderful stuff that people might not know about. So, yeah, andrewrooneydrums.com and Andrew Rooney Drums on YouTube and Instagram. That's about it.
All right, sounds good. All right, everyone, my guest today was Andrew Rooney, hailing from New Zealand. Actually, I forget to ask, what part of New Zealand are you in? Are you close to Christchurch by any chance?
No, I'm in the North Island. I'm in Auckland, which is the biggest city in New Zealand.
They're also pretty big on rugby too, or are they...
Yeah.
Well, I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine all New Zealand's pretty big on rugby. I just don't know if it kind of varies here and there between like north and south, to be honest.
No, it's pervasive everywhere, man.
All right, sounds good. All right. So make sure you guys go head over to his channel if you haven't subscribed already. Hit him up on the socials and everything too. This guy's doing wonders in the world, and keep up the good work there, Andy. It's good to have you along for the ride. So,
cheers, Brian.
No worries. Everybody stay safe. Stay tuned, y'all.